Hey everybody, this is James from TeaDB. Hope you guys are having some great tea today. Here I am bringing you another Inbetweenisode. So, as you guys might be able to tell from the color, we are not drinking aged raw, we are drinking ripe Pu'erh. So this is another sort of common, relatively inexpensive tea. So Pu'erh for daily drinking for the common people. This is a tea that I've been drinking fairly regularly. You can see the wrapper right here. Make sure I hold that the right side up. So I just broke up the last bits of this cake maybe 3 or 4 days ago. And it's a Dayi cake, so you can see the little ticket here. So finishing cakes is not something that I do that often throughout the year. But one of my regular routines and rhythms as far as tea drinking goes is to make some tea in the morning for my wife. This is almost always a ripe Pu'erh. She likes that tea. She doesn't really like things that can get a little rougher. So it's a very common tea for us to have in the morning. And usually I'll break up, anywhere from 7 to 10 grams, and we'll have. And I'll brew it in this bigger teapot, one that came from Teaware.house. I think it's about 250 milliliters. And so I will do a few brews out of that. Basically fill up a mug for her and one for me too if I'm drinking. Or maybe I'll just have a cup or two out of these cups. And after in the afternoon, I'll usually make a cup or two more from the same set of leaves. So. And if I don't brew the leaves out all the way, it's no big deal. These are not expensive teas. And if I do, that's great as well. And so usually that means that it'll take me anywhere from as little as a month to 2 months to finish off one of the cakes that way. So this was the latest one, and so I thought I'd bring it onto the show. So I started drinking this one after we finished off that Munghai 7452 cake. So this tea, which I have not even mentioned, is the Dayi Chenxiang Yayun cake. I picked mine up from Yunnan Sourcing. I prefer to do it that way just because it's easier. I checked my receipts and it cost me about $19 to $20. I think in October or November of last year. So really reasonable price for a full 357 gram cake where I didn't even need to pay domestic shipping. So this tea was recommended to me by Boychik, so thank you Boychik when I placed my order. And I sort of wanted to hit that $75 limit just so I wouldn't have to pay for the shipping, so probably similar to a lot of you. So I ordered 4 different Dayi cakes. This is the second one that we have finished off. And this one is different because it uses older material, I think 5 years onward. It's a blend, as we can expect for just about every single tea we would get from Dayi, so probably a pretty big mass production. And I actually think I like this tea more than the 7452. I don't think it's like head and shoulders above, but it's a little bit different character and I enjoy it. So I was brewing these teas earlier this morning, and so this is, steep number 4 or 5 in this big pot. So cheers guys. It's really simple. It's smooth, it's soft, it's creamy. We're going to take a smell out of here as well. Still very aromatic, so it sort of indicates that there's still some stuff to get from these leaves. Really sweet aroma, almost nutty, a little, definitely creamy. The tea is just really, really easy to drink. Oftentimes I'll have this tea and I won't really think too much about it. It's not an intention grabbing tea. It's sort of one that really fits well into the background. Sometimes I'll eat it. I'll drink it right after breakfast, so I'll have like a little oatmeal still in the back of my mouth or something like that. So relatively thick, I think, for a right pour, maybe a little bit above average. The mouthfeel, it sort of coats your mouth as a lot of these right pour does, and sort of like this soft creaminess. Yeah, I'd say it's pretty basic. Scott noted a slight fruit note in his description. Can't say I'm totally picking up on that right now, but very smooth. So this is another infusion. I pushed this one a little bit longer, so let's see what it is. This is bringing a little bit more oaty, grainy taste to the tea. Still pretty nice, so if you like your tea a little bit on the stronger end as opposed to like really soft and easygoing, this one's probably a little bit better. It's not dramatically different, and I'm going to pour this out just so we can do another one. I boiled this water just before I hit the record button so I could do an infusion. So we'll go. One of the nice things about brewing these right pours is that, you know, the parameters you can use are a lot more flexible. So usually when I'm brewing in this way, it's not so much about loading the leaf and sort of controlling and just brewing flash infusions. It's kind of going more by feel. I could brew 7 grams here. I could even brew 14 or 15, and the amount of leaf I'm using and what infusion I'm on would affect the tea. This is a right pour, so it's going to be pretty forgiving on the brew time and stuff like that. So you can push these teas pretty hard, and some people really do like to push these teas really hard, and they just like that sort of really thick, viscous brew. So very forgiving to brew. So if you like the profile, weaker, and you just like to taste the basic flavors, and maybe you have it with food or something and it's sort of like a supplement to your meal, then you might brew it a little bit weaker, or you could brew it really quite strong. So, you know, I brewed that for maybe 45 seconds or so. And you can see that even like the pot, it just takes a bit of time to pour. And for a right pour, that's fine. I would hesitate a little bit, and I definitely have to put some thought into it if I were brewing a raw pour that wasn't fairly old in this pot. Now I'm getting a little bit of that like cherry vibe that sometimes Denny notes in his right pours. Really nice color, very clear, sort of a dark, deep maroon red. Another thing that I will do as I wait for this to cool down is I will usually break up the cake and put it into a tin like this. Usually get about 7 to 10 days worth of tea in here. And to be honest, you could say it's for airing out, and I'm sure that helps a little bit, but it's mainly just for the convenience of it. It can be kind of annoying to be breaking away at a cake every day. I know my wife complains about tea cake crumbs, so as an effort to minimize that as much as possible, sometimes it can be nice to tin teas that you know that you're going to drink, at least relatively soon. I mean, that could be anywhere from like a week to a few months. Got the poo burps. Cheers, guys. I'd say this tea is sort of switching into a woodier vein. Ooh, got something stuck in my throat. If I were brewing this, I'd probably get more, maybe like one long one out of this. So brewing here for about 7 fairly long infusions, giving quite a bit of liquid out of it. Still a bit of strength, of rawness in it. That first infusion was really, really soft and smooth, and I think it's just mainly because I just brewed it a little longer. These ones, you can tell that the tea still has some like active strength in sort of like the mouthfeel of it. So it takes a little bit longer for your mouth to be sort of like coated with just all of the sweet fillings. But you can really taste the strength of the tea in that sense. It's still most definitely a ripe pu'erh. I would say this tea, this infusion, it's sort of like the first one was on the weaker end, second one is here. This one's probably the strongest of the 3 infusions. So yeah, I enjoy this tea. I think it's a very fine daily drinker. It's smooth, it's easy to drink. Compared to the 7452, I think it's maybe a little smoother, a little creamier. I think it brews a little bit darker. So maybe it's just because of the extra age. The 7452, maybe that will... I don't really know the aging trajectory of these ripes, but maybe that would be the better tea in the long run. I know that one would brew more of a straight red for me rather than brewing some of these darker colors. This tea can definitely brew almost black on some of those brews. I tend to like my ripe pu'erh a little bit more in that vein, at least for the immediate consumption. So yeah, definitely a pretty good quality ripe. I think Dayi ripes in general are pretty safe bets just to get some like well-made ripe pu'erh. Scott is also a reliable guy to get those teas from. So definitely recommend checking out his store. Yeah, if you want to check out some ripe pu'erhs, I will be moving on to probably my next cake of Dayi ripe pu'erh. Not sure what that'll be, but I'll probably bring that on hopefully pretty soon too. Let me know how you guys enjoyed this episode. And real quickly, before we leave, I am going to give this tea a 5.8 rating. So that's enjoyable. I could drink it regularly. It's not overly impressive. I think that's fine. I think that for a tea like this, totally okay. This is not a tea that's going to blow your socks off if you are familiar with ripe pu'erh, but it is a very enjoyable one. So thank you guys for tuning in, and cheers.